Okay, so imagine you've saved up a bunch of money and now you're in the market for a cool productivity device. There are a lot of choices, but you also want something that you can kind of flex with. So it's probably not going to be a Samsung. You've managed to narrow it down to two choices. The first is the brand new iPad Pro with the insane M4 chip. The second is also an iPad, but it's strapped to your face, the battery is completely detached. Oh, and it's $2,000 more because
revolutionary new product.
It's been more than 3 months since its release, and Apple's Vision Pro is not doing too well. It's completely disappeared from all forms of discussion, and just take a look at this. They're being sold for almost half price on eBay. Ladies and gentlemen, it is insanely expensive. Now, I always thought that Apple took it a bit too far when they released these. But this, well, this is on another level. Apple is being for real. For the price of one Vision Pro, you can buy a nice used car, 2 dairy cows, 1,590 packs of 5 gum, a Zeka, 230 of these egg holders, and 1 moment to tell your loved ones that you appreciate them. Look, with a price tag like this, it's pretty clear that Apple didn't intend to sell a bajillion units, but a few sources have now confirmed what most people were sort of expecting, and honestly something that I didn't want happening. And that is that the launch of Apple's Vision Pro has been a big flop. Well, sort of. Let me explain. The launch of Vision Pro was supposed to be the recreation of the first iPhone moment.
And just make a giant screen. A giant screen.
After the somewhat unexpected announcement last year at the Worldwide Developers Conference, the Vision Pro was arguably the most hyped product of the decade.
What the fuck?
It was a piece of tech to redefine consumer expectations and the way we interact with the digital landscape. And not to mention that it was the first new product line that Apple released since the Apple Watch in 2015, and people were losing their minds. Given Apple's long history of straight up taking existing products and refining them to be more Apple, I was kind of excited that this would finally breathe life into an industry that always struggled going mainstream. All of the cards were in place for a successful launch. The marketing, the spatial computing, the hype, the YouTubers, the Tim Cook, and the Apple fanboys. And it worked. Pre-orders for the Vision Pro in January sold out instantly, selling 180,000 units within the first few days according to supply chain data. This, however, didn't last long, and now in May, one thing is pretty clear. Apple's Vision Pro, at least in its current form, has also fallen victim to a weird phenomenon that's been present for a long-ass time, and that is that still, no one actually cares about VR or AR or pretty much any of the Rs.
Oi! Don't you know the Meta Quest already has millions of monthly active users? I use mine every single day.
Okay, but hear me out. A couple of weeks ago, Apple announced their Q2 earnings for 2024. This was the first since the release of the Vision Pro back in February, so you could imagine Apple fanboys were on the edge of their high chairs, ready to prove the haters wrong. iPhone and iPad revenues, which by far are their biggest business lines, were all down, while their services business like Apple TV, Apple Music, and iCloud were all up. But something key was missing, the big fat elephant in the room. We still really have no official figures on how the Vision Pro is doing. In fact, Mr. Cook here kinda dodged that altogether, instead saying how thrilled he was to see it being used in enterprise, and that more than half of the Fortune 100 companies have bought the Vision Pro to develop new applications for things like field service training. But of course, there is no mention about how many they've purchased or to what capacity they're being used. So we're just left to speculate, and it could honestly just mean that these companies have purchased just 1 or 2 devices for simple qualification and test.
Oi! The Vision Pro is already transforming the way we work. Don't you know the future is gonna be in the metaverse? You stupid, ignorant prick.
Now, while it does market itself as a productivity device, I'm not sure if enterprise was the first thing on Tim Cook's mind. Look, it's pretty cool that companies are creating innovative applications, but without announcing the actual figures are probably a bit ass. In this article, according to analyst Ming-Chi Kuo, who by the way has been reporting on Apple's products for years, Apple has cut the Vision Pro sales forecast due to very low demand, just ahead of its international release. They've almost halved their sales expectations from 800,000 units to around 400,000. Now, while this in itself isn't too worrying, data also indicated that demand had been in this pretty dead state for quite some time now, with some Apple stores reporting that the customer interest in the Vision Pro had completely fallen off a cliff. And it's pretty clear. As mentioned earlier, the Vision Pro seems to have completely disappeared from all forms of discussion. And it seems that most people are really struggling to find a reasonable use case for a device like this. A use case that can't already be done with their phones. After the initial, "Whoa dude, spatial computing," it seems that there is no long-term reason to keep using it. And Apple definitely knows this. So what seems to be the problem? Well, obviously, ladies and gentlemen, 3.5 bags is no pocket change. This really isn't your average overpriced Apple Flex device. In fact, you wouldn't even be able to flex it, since it's technically not made for outdoor use. Imagine buying a cool device, taking it outside, well, because you want to show it off to the world, only to have hundreds of people taking pictures of you and becoming a meme. You can get more value out of $3,500 doing literally anything else. Now, this certainly is not an amount that Apple fanboys can just throw around, even those of you that spent $500 on a pair of metal headphones. Why would someone get this over a MacBook that costs less than half the price that can do pretty much the same thing? Which brings us now to its use case. There is absolutely no doubt that the tech is insane. 5 sensors, 6 mics, and 12 cameras to render digital content in your space so accurately that it looks real. Like a real pass-through display. Now, unfortunately, the Vision Pro isn't yet available where I live, and I'm not sure if it'll ever be, since all the sheep and cows here will probably eat it. So I've never really had the chance to try it out, but with 4K displays running at max 100 frames for each eye, it's going to be a bit hard to find any faults with it. But there just isn't a need for it, and it doesn't really fit into an existing workflow yet. It is a first-generation device, so of course this is gonna take some time, but how much time is the question. There just isn't this killer app that you need to buy a Vision Pro for, and we still don't even have native support for things like Netflix. Everything you can do pretty much on your phone, and even more conveniently. For example, this guy here says that in order to check his emails on the Vision Pro, he would need to plug the battery in, put it over his head, wait for the device to power on, which takes about 30 seconds, open the menu, and then check his emails. Where on his phone, he can just unlock it and click on the app, which literally takes 3 seconds. There is just too much friction for the average user to complete everyday simple tasks. It also just looks pretty uncomfortable to be wearing for a long time. The headset itself weighs about 600 grams, with all the weight being distributed at the front. And some people even report motion sickness after taking it off. So it's not the most ideal for a device that's meant to transform the way we work, usually for 8 hours a day. Which brings me to my final point. VR doesn't really have the best impressions for the majority of people. I mean, who can blame them? Within the last few years, big tech has been trying to shove down this idea that VR is the future. And while I completely agree, I think it's still a bit early. It's quite likely that the people who've tried VR in the past, specifically with cheaper and crappier VR headsets, didn't really enjoy their experience. So users will be less likely to try something again they've already had a negative experience with. I also think that because most people who do use VR are gamers, it's gonna be a bit difficult to convince this technology to non-gaming / productivity bros. According to Meta's former head of Oculus, Apple is making a mistake by marketing the Vision Pro as mostly about productivity and media consumption, as it's counter to what most of the XR industry actually cares for. And that, he says, is gaming. Now, if Apple can address these points without screwing the developers, I think the future generations of Vision Pro could be pretty compelling. And that all depends on the second gen Vision Pro, hopefully coming out in 2025.